What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movie Cricket Podcast for Thursday, the 1st of May. I'm Jim Miskell, and I'm joined by. Basically, I'm Jim, and this guy's Billy.
Perfect.
So we're going to be talking about the biggest movie news of this last week, and boy oh boy is there lots to talk about.
Such a big week.
Where would you like to start? I mean, obviously, the biggest news of the week is the Star Wars 7 cast.
We've got to start with Star Wars. So, I think it was Tuesday, we had a big announcement from StarWars.com, dropped it on everybody with a huge announcement with the cast of the Star Wars Episode 7 coming out. Interestingly, the day before, J.J. Abrams held a little dinner party with a few of the main cast members.
Whereabouts was that? London somewhere?
London.
Cool. So why do you think it was in London? Was that where they're going to be filming?
Pinewood.
Interesting.
So
just
Carrie
like
Fisher
the old
was
films.
there, just like the old films. We had Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill. They were all there, and we actually found out that Andy Serkis was there the day before. So we got a little bit of an exclusive there.
You heard it first. MovieCricket.com broke the news that Andy Serkis of Gollum fame is going to be motion captured up, no doubt.
Definitely.
To play a Rancor pit monster. Or what else could he play?
Maybe a alien Jedi. I'm going to say Jedi.
It'd have to be big.
Do you
He
reckon?
tends to play. Well, he played King Kong, didn't he? Well, actually, Gollum's little.
Caesar.
Basically, he'll play something weird.
Yeah. He's going to have a big alien face.
So
yeah, Andy were there, and we don't think that's the end of the castings. There's going to be a few more. Yeah, there's particularly female roles. There's going to be a few more. But yeah, the picture came out, and we got a lot of cast members, mostly unknown people, really.
So who's the first unknown we've got?
Off the bat, it was Adam Driver, who's expected to play the film's main villain. So we reckon he's going to be like a Sith apprentice, kind of like Darth Maul from that dreaded Episode 1.
Cool.
Then we've got John Boyega.
Is this a kid from Attack the Block?
He's Attack the Block, Edgar Wright.
He's got to be a brooding protagonist.
I think he's going to be a big role, yeah, definitely. They're clearly favouring British cast by the looks of it. We've got John Boyega, who's starring Joe Cornish's Attack the Block. So, what, you're expecting him to play a villain, are you?
Yeah, definitely. Judging by how mean and perfectly he played a bad guy.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool for him. We've got Domhnall Gleeson, Harry Potter, Dredd.
Wow.
He's probably maybe been in the notable films.
So he was the hacker in Dredd.
Yeah.
I actually think he was probably my favourite non-Dredd character in that film. So,
anyone that wasn't Dredd.
Yeah.
Apart from Urban. he was the main guy.
Well, Urban's the man, isn't he? I'm trying to think of it. Who was the woman in that?
Cersei.
She's fierce fuck. Unbelievably fit.
We've got Daisy Ridley. She was hanging out with Silent Witness. Relative unknown TV star.
Wow.
And then Oscar Isaac, probably his biggest role was in Drive with Ryan.
Wow.
So
basically,
relatively unknown cast, which I think is pretty cool. It sort of gives them a blank canvas to build these people up.
It's good when it's following the tradition of the first.
Very much like
first
original trilogy. So that's great. That's what we want, really.
Interestingly, though, the prequel trilogy didn't have that. It still had unknowns, but there was a lot of quite established actors, and I think that's the problem.
I think it relied on people like Sam Jackson being in it, and they thought that'd give it a bit of Hollywood claim, and it backfired.
Yeah, like Ewan McGregor. I mean, he was pretty good as Obi-Wan, but I still just saw him as the guy from Trainspotting.
It was Ewan McGregor, yeah.
And Natalie Portman, she's a fantastic actress, but fucking hell, she never showed it in them prequels.
No, definitely not. I think with all these guys, you've got no particular expectations, no real backstory for characters they've played, so I think JJ will only build on that. I think it'll really pay off.
That's perfect.
And then returning people in terms of crew, we've got Kathleen Kennedy coming back, we've got Lawrence Kasdan, so obviously he was the writer of Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. Then working with JJ is going to be perfect.
See, that's what I'm most excited about, is Lawrence being involved, because like you just said, he wrote Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, which are the best Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Like, God bless George Lucas, he wrote the first one, but them prequels,
yeah,
they were terrible.
Unforgivable. So that's great. I think the most exciting thing is it's real now. Now we've had an announcement. It feels real.
Even though we knew it was happening and we've known for a year, it never felt real.
No.
Now, it's real.
No, we've had tweets from people like Mark Hamill saying he's going to be in the film, and it never crossed my mind I'm going to see Luke Skywalker in a movie again.
It still hasn't sunk in for me. I can't imagine going to the cinema and watching a Star Wars film and being excited to watch it. I mean, it's literally a dream team involved. You've got the best director arguably working in Hollywood right now in JJ.
I'd agree.
I mean, what he did with Star Trek is amazing. It's amazing. I put off watching Star Trek because I thought, it'll just be crap. It'll just be ruined, and it's just an unbelievable love letter, and that's all this has got to be. Star Wars has got to be a love letter, and from what we've seen so far from behind the scenes shots of the Attack Walker, which spoiler alert, sorry, there's possibly going to be an Attack Walker in a Tatooine desert scene, something we've never seen, but the Attack looked exactly the same.
Same foot, same ankles, it looked great.
That's it, and that's all I want. I want to see the same stuff. I don't want anything changed. I don't want a new Z-Wing. I don't want a J-Wing. I want to see an X-Wing. I want to see it rusty. I want to see it used. I want to see a real world that we used to seeing. I don't want to see a green screen anywhere. I just want to see real props, and that seems to be the way they're going. So I literally could not be more excited about that.
We had a good chat about the Falcons' involvement, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sort of about funny upgrades, but it's still an absolute rust bucket knocking around. I think that's what we'd like to see.
Interestingly, at Star Wars Celebration last year, I was talking to the production designers who I can't remember the name of exactly for the prequels. Anyway, they were good guys, and I asked them why wasn't the Millennium Falcon in the prequels. I mean, it's an essential character. It's as essential as Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. It's a huge part of it, and they kind of looked a bit awkward because they obviously knew it should have been in.
They probably knew. Yeah.
And it's an important thing. It's an anchor for the story. It's home. It's where they're safe.
Yeah.
When that Millennium Falcon was safe, we need to. It's got to be in it.
It is. We already know they built a full scale model at Pinewood.
Oh my god!
It's definitely going to be there, and that's very exciting.
Oh my god!
While we're on the topic of Star Wars, we're actually we're hosting a Star Wars dinner with the stars this Sunday on May the 4th.
This is true. How exciting is that?
Very exciting. We've got plenty of stars from the original films, the prequels, the video games coming down.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough to get interviews with all of them, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
We'll even have a star of the upcoming Episode 7 in Kenny Baker, who's going to be reprising his role as R2-D2. So
we'll definitely have a good chat with him.
Yeah, we're going to have an exclusive interview with him going up next week, and we'll actually add an excerpt of that onto the podcast next week.
Yeah,
if you want to listen to.
So you can also you can definitely send your questions in if you've got anything to ask. We've got Dave Prowse, we've got Tim Dry. There's so many people. You can check it out on the website for people that are going to be there. You can send your questions in on Twitter at The Movie Cricket, or on our Facebook. Any means you need, send your questions in and we'll pass them on and give them back to you next week.
Speaking of Andy Serkis, what else has he been up to this week?
He's been a really busy guy this last month or so, and a few of these little things surprised me quite a lot. But the main news is that Andy Serkis has been lending his motion capture expertise to Mark Ruffalo on the set of Avengers 2.
Who plays the Hulk?
He's helping him out with the Hulk, just to perfect his performance a little bit. So that's pretty cool. That's something that he's getting involved with. Something I was very surprised at is that he's also been working as a consultant for the motion capture on Godzilla.
Wow.
Which that's definitely a surprise. So he's been doing a lot of things over the last few weeks.
That's interesting because I can't even imagine how you would do motion capture with Godzilla, because the way they've done the design, it's the classic design, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like it's a model. Like that's the look they've gone for.
Yeah,
they've gone for the classic Godzilla look. So
lots of big foot shots.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cause it just seems, from what I've seen, it just seems to be waddling around.
Yeah, I can't confirm what he's actually done in terms of motion capture, but he's definitely working as a consultant. Wow. So he's very busy at the moment. He's also been doing the second unit still on The Hobbit, so he's doing lots at the moment, Andy Serkis.
Which got a name change this week.
It did get a name change, and I was actually a little bit disappointed about it. It was going to be called The Hobbit There and Back Again, which, for me, it's a nostalgic name. It's what The Hobbit's all about. Bilbo's been on a huge journey, and it's it sums up Lord of the Rings. It's a journey film at the end of the day. But they've changed the name to Battle of Five Armies, which is still a chapter name. It is still what the film's about, but it's very Hollywood.
It sounds like a third movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
An epic.
Yeah, it does sound epic. I think for anyone that's not read the book, it's going to be a good title, probably.
That's me, basically. I'm a noob.
Yeah.
So for me, I know I'm going to get a big battle, just like in Return of the King.
Yeah, it sells what's going to happen in the movie. I was a little bit disappointed with the name change, but I can live with it.
I do prefer though There and Back Again.
I think
the journey's it's an unexpected journey. The
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
It's nice. It ties in.
Yeah. And it's kind of heartwarming to know he's gone all that way, he's been on a journey, he's learnt lots of things, and now he's going to get home again. In other news, we'll go to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
In other news this week, we've got a pretty big story with Hugh Jackman. He's come out and said that he's 99.9% sure that he's not going to play Wolverine after the Wolverine 3.
Wow.
So
is that because the Wolverine 2 was shit?
I think that's very likely. He's definitely got, obviously, Days of Future Past, which he's going to be starring in. He'll very likely be in X-Men Apocalypse, though it's not been confirmed. And then he said that the Wolverine 3 will very likely be his last film. And I think that is great. I think the characters, that'll be his... If he's in Apocalypse, that'll be his 9th Wolverine film.
Jesus.
And it's way too much. You look at the guys in the Marvel Studios, like Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., they're already thinking about next projects, they're already thinking about what they're going to do next.
It must be boring doing all that working out for it.
Exactly. I think Chris Evans had done the right thing. He's thinking of going into directing, so he's doing something new. I think Hugh Jackman, it must be frustrating for him to go from a huge blockbuster like Prisoners, like Les Mis, where he's getting critical acclaim, everyone's saying he's such a great actor, and then he goes back to playing Wolverine, where he can flex his muscles, but he can't flex his talent, and it's a waste. It's a real waste. So I think that's a great move for him to be getting out of that.
Plus, his real love is Broadway and singing. And to be fair, from watching Les Mis, I'd rather see him do that than Wolverine. And I never thought I'd ever say that.
No, I think you're right.
If someone had said that when I was 19, I would have laughed.
Yeah, you're totally right.
I'm getting old, Bill.
Hugh Jackman in Rock of Ages 2.
God, that's my dream.
Let's make it happen. That was about the trailer.
Also, Hugh Jackman was on Raw this week.
He was on Raw this week. We do love cameos in wrestling.
You can't beat it when a movie star goes into WWE. They go to the ring, someone makes a pun about a character they've played, then they say, "It's so good to be here at Raw. You know, my new movie's coming out this Thursday." It's so cheesy.
They're always stronger and harder than the wrestler they're about to fight.
Yeah, and then a 6'5" wrestler comes down and they twat him with one punch. It's brilliant.
My personal favourite was just before WrestleMania with Joe and Arnie.
Oh, yeah.
Joe he did a good job with The Miz. He kind of beat him about a bit. Arnie did a lovely soft backhand.
Bitch slapped him.
And then Hulk threw him out the ring, so unlucky Miz.
You know you've had a bad day at the office when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Hulk Hogan beat you up.
Really?
And speaking of Arnie, Terminator 5 started filming earlier this week, didn't it? Is it New Orleans? Somewhere down in the south of America, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's New Orleans. Correct me if I'm wrong. Drop me a comment if I'm wrong. Interestingly, it's got a cast of relative unknowns.
But huge star pull, I would say, with Emilia Clarke. She's very hot on
IMDb.
Full stop. She's very, she's great. I think she's number 1, on IMDb.
Yeah, but we all know why that is, because young boys are searching for pictures of her tits. But he's got what else have we got in Terminator? We've got Jai Courtney as John Connor.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who was in Die Hard, the last Die Hard, which was terrible? Yeah,
I'm not that excited about his inclusion.
I'm not excited at all about this. After Terminator 3, which was just a cash-in, it was a dumbed-down lowest common denominator catchphrase aimed at teenage boys cash-in, rather than a science fiction classic. I've no interest really, and I'm Arnie's biggest fan. Again, I feel ridiculous even saying that, but it's kind of paining me to see Arnie's post-political movies.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem to have that charisma anymore. The acting world's changed and the movie world's changed. you don't need muscles anymore in Catch Race because the superheroes who just take a magic formula and they have powers. And he's a dinosaur now, God bless him.
You know, quick side note on that, we were talking about Stallone and Arnie sort of being past it in terms of Hollywood pulp.
Yeah.
What about Johnny Depp? Transcendence has
True.
really bottomed.
Flopped, in it.
So it's really difficult to say. Are people that interested in...
Well, it begs the question, is Johnny Depp a good actor?
Potentially not when it's not in a weird role and hidden behind a load of makeup.
That's it. He plays weirdos brilliantly.
Yeah.
He plays drug addicts, alcoholics, anybody brilliantly, but when he's actually put to the test, is he any good? I don't think he is.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good looking guy who's got a lot of charm and charisma, but I don't know. I've in fact, Blow is one of the best films he's done, but I think the supporting cast was better around him.
Yeah. So returning to Terminator Genisys, if that is going to be its title, we're unsure, aren't we, after the production started?
Yeah, I think they should go simpler. Genesis just sounds like a crappy Resident Evil film where they just put a word at the end that means nothing.
It's a working title, I'm sure. We might get a new title.
Do you know what I reckon though? They'd be so dumb they'd just call it that.
It reminds me too much of Salvation, really.
I say, what was the Salvation right in terms of Salvation?
No.
I'm sure there's some deep meaning
that didn't come across in the plot.
That film.
Let's not talk about that film. Let's not bring it up.
So who's directing it?
Alan Taylor, of course, from Thor 2, which is very exciting. That's the only exciting inclusion for me, really, in the back room. I think that's really good. I think he'll make a really good spectacle of the film.
Well, Thor 2 was really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Really fun, but this is Terminator.
If anyone's going to handle a franchise, though, I think he's one of the right people to do it.
Really? What from Thor 2 made you think that he could handle time-travelling killer robots?
Muscle.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It's a funny thing, Terminator. I don't know. Alan Taylor's great, but what's the script going to be like? Who's written it? From what I've seen, it's the writer of some crap films. So it's been written by Patrick Lussier, who brought us such classics as Drive Angry, Dracula 3: The Legacy, Dracula 2: Ascension, Dracula 2000,
big hits,
and Lita Kalogridis, who actually, if he wrote Shut Around, that's good. Yeah, he wrote the screenplay for Shut Around, and that's pretty good. But then before that, he did Bionic Woman, Pathfinder, that's okay, Night Watch, which is alright. So this guy here,
we've got Shutter Island.
Yeah, Shutter Island, interesting. I mean, from what I've read from the rumours, it's going to be a kind of like Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
So they're going to be going back in time to the other movies that take place, which with Arnold being shown as a young Terminator.
Yeah.
You know, and I said medium Terminator, like a 40-year-old Terminator,
Diet Terminator,
50-year-old Terminator. But I want to know what he's going to look like now because, you know, he's not the same guy he was in 1990.
That's what's going to be interesting about this film. You're definitely going to have more than one Arnie Terminator knocking around. But from the stories that I've heard, we're going to have an older Terminator who's been looking after Sarah Connor kind of in the background for 30 years. And that's going to be the Terminator we know from Judgment Day, from Terminator 1. So, you know, he's going to be old. Then we're going to have a CGI Arnie, by the sounds of it, who's going to be played by a bodybuilder.
I did that with Salvation, didn't they?
Yeah.
Roland Kickinger.
It looked interesting, but can that support a speaking role in the film?
Well, I think the only successful CGI character really I've ever seen was the Na'vi girl from Avatar.
Yeah.
Neytiri,
yeah.
But that was because it was beautiful motion capture.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? It could be done with special effects these days. You can do anything, but
I agree.
It's the script that counts. You can't polish a turd.
No.
And if James Cameron stepped away from this franchise in 1999 and said, "Look, the story's done. There's nothing else to do," that's what worries me.
Yeah. They are looking back to Judgment Day, but whether they execute it the right way remains to be seen. And this bodybuilder that's going to be playing Arnie's double, called Aaron Williamson, and he did kind of come out and say he's very grateful and motivated to be part of Terminator Genisys, but then he had to take that down straight away.
Wow.
And he released a statement that he's not at liberty to discuss anything. So his inclusion is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, he's been
to
told
what capacity we don't know.
What about rating? If it's Alan Taylor, I'm thinking it's going to be a PG-13. It's just a summer kids film.
I'd be disappointed if it is. We saw what happened with RoboCop recently.
But I think we have to be ready for a crappy film aimed at kids.
Well, I'm going to worry you further now, because we've got a big loss from the film. Brad Fiedel, who did the score on Terminator 1 and Judgment Day, not included.
See, that was one of the main
music
mistakes
is
they
so
did.
important.
They didn't have him on Salvation either, and it's just stupid.
When you're trying to return the franchise to the glory days. He's probably the first name on the list you want to get back.
What's
the
the
soundtrack's
first?
so important.
What's the first thing you think about with Terminator? Dun, 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 dun. That's what you think.
You're right. You're totally right. So that's
You tell me.
disappointing.
You hum me the theme for Terminator Salvation.
You know, the only memorable thing from Terminator Salvation is Christian Bale going mental.
Because
So-
he's realised, oh, what the hell am I doing in a film
You
with
wanted out
Mick
of
G? God.
So yeah, that's plenty on Terminator for now, I think.
Yeah. Interesting. So what have we got next?
We've got lots of DC news. A bit
Yeah.
of comic book news.
I don't know much about comic book films, so I'll let you go ahead and tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Go.
Okay, so in other news, we've got lots of Warner Brothers, DC, Zack Snyder, Batman vs Superman news this week.
Cool.
So we had a big announcement from Warner that Zack Snyder will direct a Justice League film.
Oh,
I'm
God.
already cringing at that idea, but it's going to happen.
Why?
I'm surprised they've done it so soon with us not even seeing Batman vs Superman yet. But I do think it means that they will be shooting Batman vs Superman, which is still untitled, back to back with a Justice League film. I think they'll get it out of the way straight away.
I guess they've watched Watchmen.
Watchmen's good,
But
but
Let's
that
be
times when
honest.
that's his best film.
let's be honest, the film was done for him.
Yeah.
All it is it's the screen, it's the comic book,
Yeah.
shot for shot, with the same dialogue. Not that I'm, saying he's not very talented. That's what it is. When you
Yeah.
read that comic book, it's the movie.
I would have waited to see how he does with Batman vs Superman.
Me too.
first.
I mean, let's be honest.
It's a gamble.
Man of Steel wasn't the film they told us it would be.
No.
It wasn't the gritty Nolan produced epic. It was
I didn't see any Nolan in that film whatsoever.
It was two films. It was a really nice, sweet story about a kid, and then it was another film about an emo guy who didn't really talk much, who massacred a city at the end
Yeah.
and murdered 3 million people.
And murdered his biggest villain ever when Superman never kills people.
Is that us supposed to think? Fucking hell, Pepper. Right, my girlfriend's ringing me. We'll leave this on the podcast. Hi, Lauren. Hey. Alright, she's only ringing me to see which bin I want picking up. Just get the silver one, Pep. You're interrupting our podcast, so can you go, please? Bye.
Thanks, Lauren.
Bye. Yeah, the silver bin. Yeah, get the silver one. Bye.
Breaking news, Movie Cricket are getting a silver bin this week.
Brilliant. Where was I?
We were talking
Alright.
about Zack Schneider, but let's leave it.
No. Let's do it. No, this is what I'm interested in. He potentially ruined Superman for me.
Yeah,
And-
they've gambled on the story.
He just ruined it. If the scale was too much for a first film.
What does he
Remember-
do now? He saved the world.
So they literally, there was a laser pointed at the fucking world and it was about to explode. Like, what else can they do?
And ironically, Superman did more destruction than the Death Weapon.
Yeah, it's crazy. Think about Batman Begins.
Yeah.
It's a small scale story where there's a city involved. That's fine.
Best origin film ever, Batman Begins.
But in Batman, there was a city involved, and the world's going to blow up, and everything happens just through the kitchen
Yeah.
sink here.
I think they just they didn't have a clue what they were doing with the story, and I think it will show in Batman vs Superman. There's ways they can save it. You can have a sort of Batman that's clipping Superman around the ear for being a bit of a knobhead.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways they can bring it back if they go with the right comic line.
I'd like to see more of Superman, like, doing stuff.
Yeah,
Because I
rather
was
than a CGI.
Yeah,
Superman.
I was sick of seeing that CGI stunt double of his
Yeah.
just doing all the awesome stuff.
Yeah,
Like, do practical. That's what's good about Batman. It's always Bale
yeah, he's a brawler.
beating people up. You never think, oh, that's not Bale.
Real world.
Yeah.
Right, you're totally right.
I know it might be a bit more difficult because he's a flying guy, but they did it with Christopher Reeve in the 70s.
Yeah. So we also had confirmed there's going to be Cyborg in this film, who's going to be played by Ray Fisher, which is interesting. A lot of people might not have put Cyborg in with... He's so immediately after Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. He's very new to the Justice League in terms of the comic books.
I've honestly never heard of him.
Exactly, it is a gamble. You've got a lot of names that could still come in, but Cyborg is going to be in Batman vs Superman and will be in the Justice League.
So basically, Batman vs Superman's turned into Avengers at the moment.
You've got 4 main superheroes in this film already, as well as at least one villain and a lot of side characters. And it worries me in terms of characterisation. There's so much going on in this film. It's going to be like a 3.5 hour film. It has
Not
to
forgetting, we've got to introduce Batman.
Exactly.
Again.
And if they do that wrong, then the film will fail.
And we've this week we learned that Josh Hartnett turned down Batman.
Yeah, we did actually. We definitely did. So there's so much pressure on Ben Affleck here.
Basically, he's going to be a huge scapegoat if this doesn't work.
Yeah, he will. You're right. You're totally right. And he doesn't deserve it, I don't think.
He doesn't.
I'm a definite Batfleck believer.
If anything, I think he's possibly too good for it.
Yeah, he's beyond it at the moment. We'll see how that turns out. So, we know Zack Snyder's going to direct. We know Cyborg's going to be in it. But interestingly, Warner also announced a day later that they will make 9 more films on top of these 2. So there's about 3 films which they are confirming.
Are these spin-off DC characters?
There's no confirmation, but it sounds like they're going to be part of a larger universe, very similar to Marvel.
Interesting.
So there are going to be solo films. There's only a few names at the moment. They're going to make Fables, Sandman for sure. And then there's talks about Shazam, 100 Bullets and Metal Men. Metal Men would be cool, Shazam would be cool. Obviously depending on who's doing them. I doubt it'll be Schneider that has any involvement with those.
Again, I've never heard of any of them.
Exactly, they're not naming any big names, which I definitely think we'll get news of in the coming weeks.
Do they have any big names?
They've got a lot of big characters they can bring in. I do think there'll be a Green Lantern reboot. There's a lot of rumours going around about Chris Pine being approached for that, which will be very interesting. He was involved even back when Ryan Reynolds was cast. He was definitely in the playing to get in there. So
I'm kind of glad he didn't do it then.
At the time, I am. It would have been the wrong film for him, but I think now, the right backing. If the first couple of films are decent and he gets a solo film, that could work quite well. He would be good for the role. You've got your classic characters like Flash. I think they'll definitely bring him in. There's talks about Aquaman again. I'm not sure how Aquaman will work in a DC film at all, but
how can you have a gritty origin of Aquaman? What, some tadpoles?
The rumours are very consistent. So you've got people like Josh Holloway, who played Sawyer in Lost. He's been rumoured for a long time. Josh Momoa from Game of Thrones, played Khal Drogo. And recently, Matt Damon linked Ben Affleck's best bud.
Shut up.
Seriously, he's been linked. So
he's too good. I'm sorry.
And that was a credible source as well. So
he's too good for that.
It's a very strange casting.
Matt Damon is also possibly 10 to 15 years too old.
I'd say he's too old. But obviously you got to take all these rumours with a lot of salt, because there's so many flying around and there's no confirmation yet. We don't even know who's going to be in what film, never mind what films are going to be made, never mind who's going to be in what film. So it's just a waiting game for this.
I guess before the end of the podcast we should talk about the passing of the late great Bob Hoskins.
Poor Bob Hoskins.
He sadly passed away this week, aged 71, from pneumonia. Like, someone I just can't imagine. You just always think he's going to be around, don't you? I mean, we've all grown up with him in the films, and funnily enough, when I went to Las Vegas on a debauched holiday, I had the honour of staying in the Bob Hoskins suite at Planet Hollywood.
Wow.
Imagine that.
That's a real treat.
I slept in his personal suite, in which his jacket from either Mario Brothers or Who Framed Roger Rabbit was framed above my bed.
That is really nice.
Think about that.
You're lucky to have that memory.
It just seems so sad. I mean, he was amazing in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Hook as Shmee. It just makes me really sad. And we've got a few friends who've worked with him in the industry, like Mike Edmonds and Derek Lyons, who've worked with him in the 80s and 90s, and they're both really quite upset he's passing, so I thought to go out to them as well.
Absolutely. He's had a very successful career, and his family did say that he passed away very peacefully.
That's nice. Rest in peace, Bob. So, the second trailer hit for Ninja Turtles this week as well, Billy.
Michael Bay, director of Transformers.
Ninja Turtles by Michael Bay.
Starring Megan Fox. Transformers 1.5
Wow.
with turtles.
What are your initial thoughts looking at the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Alright, it's a difficult one because it's a really nostalgic story. We all grew up on this cartoon. It's for that reason I am excited for it. I really am, and I think it looks quite interesting. I like the depth they've gone to with the turtles, making them very individual. Look wise, I'm not convinced. I think the turtles look a little bit...
I don't like the nose.
No, I think the faces are a little bit strange.
They kind of look like what's that thing from Lord of the Rings? The cave troll. We like the cave troll.
They've got a...
How the hell did I forget what it was called? We've got a cave troll.
We've got a Beanland. We should have known that.
Oh, shoot me. It's been a long day.
So they've got a cave turtle, 4 cave turtles.
I think it's pretty cool how they've kind of really geeked up Donatello even more. So he's got little glasses and he's got apparently an Xbox on his back.
Yeah, he's hanging out with an Xbox.
And it's just junk that you'd find in a sewer, like an Xbox.
Exactly, like an Xbox.
In America, what do you do with your old Xbox? You throw it in the sewer. I just hope that it's fun, you know. From the trailer, it looked fun, it looked quite dark, which I kind of get, because, you know, they're all secretive and stuff like that.
But then you see Megan Fox, and it's... I just don't think the film needed Megan Fox at all.
No, I mean, she's a terrible actress.
She's a total babe. We all get that.
Oh, she's smoking, but she's terrible.
So she's an element I think is a little bit risky.
I would love to have seen someone like Emma Stone in that role.
Yeah, you couldn't get away from Spider-Man, could
but
you?
Imagine the banter she'd
have been much better.
She's got something like about her, like she can go back and forth with people and actors.
Yeah.
And Megan Fox, I mean, I saw her in This Is 40, the Judd Apatow film, and she's just not very talented.
No, she's
not. Incredibly beautiful, blah blah blah, but she's not that good.
We've also got Johnny Knoxville turning up in this film now.
Yeah, so they've recast one of the Ninja Turtles.
I actually think they should have gone with someone like Johnny Knoxville all along. I think he's the right sort of person.
He's got a unique voice, hasn't he?
Very unique voice, recognisable. It's kind of like Will Arnett playing Batman in the Lego Movie. I think it's a pleasing casting. So yeah. I think that's quite a good call, even though it's very late in the day for a recasting. Especially after the first trailer came out.
I feel sorry for the guy that kicked off the film.
Yeah,
because the trailer's out.
That is a strange one.
Yeah, it's funny. He must have really dropped the ball.
While we're on the topic of superheroes, Dwayne Johnson is doing a lot of preparation for his film San Andreas. He's over in Australia at the moment. He's posting photos all over the place, working out every day. We did hear whispers a couple of weeks ago about Dwayne Johnson potentially being part of this DC universe they're establishing, and we can maybe see that happening. Dwayne himself said that there's mutual interest between him and DC to bring a character in. But he did specify that he wouldn't be part of it unless it was a very unique role, something he could put his own plant on, something had never been done before. So realistically, the only roles he could be looking at are people like Martian Manhunter, maybe Hawkman, like the pretty big players in the Justice League. So maybe there's truth to this story. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that.
Interesting. I mean, the numbers don't lie. He's the biggest movie star in the world.
Absolutely, we're big Dwayne Johnson fans.
Yeah, he's a fan of ours. He gave us a tweet the other day.
He did. That made my day.
We love The Rock, so we hope he does well. I just want to see him in a real character. I mean, someone that I could recognise rather than I don't have to learn a new character.
No,
but I'm not the superhero kind of guy.
We think San Andreas will be pretty cool though. That's a natural disaster film where he plays. I think he plays a cool firefighter.
Basically,
by description,
he plays a bodybuilding, I don't know, rescue worker.
He's too big for the helicopter that he's been training in anyway.
If someone needs lifting from a car, The Rock's your man.
He's your man.
But I prefer to see him in the Expendables than a superhero film.
In fact, while we're on Expendables, we've got a lot to talk about that. Still rumours, lots of rumours still, but surprisingly, they're not for Expendables 3. They're for already looking at Expendables 4.
Wow.
So we're already looking ahead, and this film hasn't even been released. Let's have a quick chat about Expendables 3.
Okay, cool.
The trailer is not what we expected. It looks
it looks
really good.
It was really brilliant. Now we're fans of the Expendables here. Let's be clear.
Absolutely.
We're big fans of Expendables 2. Expendables 1 is pretty rubbish.
It was aimed as a reward for fans, and it kind of backfired a bit.
Yeah, it was too serious. I mean, it was meant to be an 80s throwback film, with guys with guns and muscles, but it was very serious. It was very poorly written. There was not much memorable about it.
It was slow.
Yeah, it was.
My main memory is it was such a slow film.
It was boring, but I think the ending, that massacre, kind of made you walk out thinking it was better than it was.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's mainly because...
It showed you there was potential, though. And
then
true. With the second one, they came back, they made a much, much better film.
Simon West directed that.
They controlled the cameos a lot better. They weren't as flamboyant, but still very pleasing with references and whatnot.
It felt like an adventure film.
It did. It was much better.
It felt like they'd done a real film. Like it felt to me like there was so much more care going into it, and that's mainly because in the first, Stallone was writing it, he was directing it, he was starring in it. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, I love the guy. He's amazing, but he can't do it everything at once. He can't do it. He's just not that guy. He's not a very good writer. I know I hate to say it. Rocky was great, but I don't think he's written anything since which is actually any good.
No, if he's not right and he can concentrate on his role, and that's what we want really. We don't want to see him doing everything. We just want to see a good role from him, a good performance.
I want to see him having fun. I mean, I'm quite the Stallone fan. I mean, you know that. I watched the director's cut of Expendables 1.
I know what you're going to say. Smiling moment.
Yeah, there's a scene where there's a deleted scene at the airport when he arrives at passport control, and he has a bit of banter with the passport control guy, and he smiles and he laughs, and it's the only moment in the film where Stallone's natural charisma comes through, and you think, God, I like that guy. I mean, he just pouts and looks angry through all these films, and looks tough, and that's great, but you're a 60-year-old dude.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
The whole point of Expendables is surely just to have fun. They're throwing all these people together, and that's got to come across in the film.
That's it. I mean, he's one of the most charismatic and intelligent guys in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. He's genuinely hilarious.
He doesn't come across in his films, so that's what they need to sort of latch onto. Interestingly, I think Expendables 3 is even further of a departure than the first film. The scale is amazing.
Looks huge, doesn't it?
It looks like Christopher Nolan could have directed that film.
It does.
Those opening shots of the buildings, they look amazing. So I'm really hopeful for this film. I think it'll be really good.
I'm excited. And the cast additions are brilliant. We've got Harrison Ford.
Really clever cast additions.
Mel Gibson, Wesley Snipes.
I think we realised the other week that Wesley Snipes will be rescued from a prison at the start of the film.
I think a prison or a prison train or something along those lines. But we don't want to go into too much spoiler territory, but it's going to be good. I've just got a great feeling about it. I know a few people who've worked on it, and I follow them on Twitter, and everything they've posted and everything I've seen so far has been good.
Yeah.
And, I'm excited again. I mean, Expendables 2 is brilliant. It's so fun. And I think they're going to keep going along that same route.
I think it can only keep getting better.
And they're bringing in some younger Expendables with Kellen Lutz.
Yeah.
And it's the Ortiz guy from MMA, I can't remember his full name. But they're doing it right. There's a transition starting already.
Yeah, you're right. Should we talk rumours? Very interesting rumours on Expendables 4.
Yeah, go for it.
So they're a bit crazy. So let's get the crazy ones out of the way, and then we can talk about maybe a realistic one.
Okay.
2 words. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
This is flying around everywhere.
Hulkamania.
We can specify we're big Hulk fans. We went to WrestleMania this year in New Orleans, and it was incredible.
And we dressed as Hulk Hogan.
We did dress as Hulk Hogans. We got a lot of attention. That was a lot of fun. Do we want to see him in an Expendables film?
With them biceps and them 24-inch pythons.
I think something you've got to look at is, like we've just been talking about, that they're maybe heading down a more serious route. They're looking at scale. They're looking at making a film, and it's putting Hulk Hogan in that film. It's risky. I think the fans would like it.
It'd be a cameo though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be a 2-minute thing.
Yeah, it would.
He'd walk in. He'd drop a leg. He'd point at someone. He'd
say brother 50 times.
Yeah,
he'd set the world record for saying brother in a minute.
That's all we want him to do, is just literally do what he does in wrestling. Run out, save the good guys.
He could be a wrestler.
If they have a wrestling match in Expendables 4, I'd be so happy.
That'd be great. That would be a good idea.
And then The Rock gets tagged in.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. wrestling match in Expendables 4.
I mean, you've had Stone Cold in it, in the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it
Plus,
could happen.
he's good friends with...
You've got to look at the
Sly.
links. This is the point. Like, Mr. T is also rumoured to be involved, and
Makes sense.
if I'm right, but I'm pretty sure that Stallone actually introduced Hulk Hogan into the Hall of Fame for WWE.
He did.
So the links are there. They've all been working with each other for a couple of decades.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger inducted Bruno Sammartino
He
into
did.
the WWE Hall of Fame.
So the links are all there. It could definitely happen. So that rumour isn't quite as outrageous as it sounds. They'd only be cameos. But then the bigger rumour is Steven Seagal.
That, now, speaking of a big guy, Steven Seagal as the villain. Wow.
You've got to look at Mel Gibson and consider he's the main villain.
Mel
Why
Gibson's
not Steven Seagal?
I don't know if you've seen him recently, but
I
he's-
did when I was trying to find a nice picture of him for the article.
He's out of shape,
Yeah.
and he's mental. He's great, but let's be honest, he's not done a good film since, I think, Under Siege.
Because Jean-Claude Van Damme was in the best mental condition in Expendables 2.
Thing is, but physically,
Yeah, I see.
with Van Damme, you know, he's off the wall and he's mental and he steals the show. But Van Damme has been working at quite a high level, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Dolph Lundgren in straight to DVD. He was consistent with his films. There was nothing special, but he was consistent. You've got Van Damme, consistent in crap films. Seagal, I mean, some of the worst films I've ever seen are starring him. There's one I saw where he stars as a kung fu archaeologist,
Here you go.
and it's mental.
Yeah.
Almost every line of his is dubbed.
Kung Fu Indie.
And there's another one I saw called Submerged, right? And
You tried to make me watch that once.
half the film he's dubbed with another voice because he obviously couldn't be asked to do his own ADR work. He did a bit and obviously went on holiday. So you've got half a film with Steven Seagal and another half with just some redneck guy. The guy is absolutely mental.
Maybe not a credible rumour, but still one nonetheless.
I'm telling you, if he's the villain, he will easily get his ass kicked. It'll be the shortest fan fight.
Interestingly, we already know that Expendables 4 is very likely to be set in Cuba.
That is
so
interesting.
he could play some sort of slightly tapped dictator.
Ponytailed,
Ponytail dictator.
Komodo wearing.
We'll call him that from now on, the ponytail dictator.
Jesus.
Steven Seagal, Expendables 4.
If it happens, it will be hilarious.
It could definitely happen. Anything can happen in the Expendables. That's
True.
what we've learned. So we're going to have a quick chat about our movie cricket film of the week, which this week is Under the Skin, starring Scarlett Johansson. It's going to be spoiler free. I'm not going to give too much away, but it is really highly recommended. It's got a really powerful message. It looks lovely. So much really great cinematography. Director Jonathan Glaze has had such a good vision with this film, and if you want to see Scarlett Johansson playing a sexy alien-eating, man-eating womanizer femme fatale, then it's a great film.
That just about wraps up this week's podcast. So, as we mentioned before, we're holding a Star Wars dinner with some of the stars of the original trilogy
On
and
May
the
the 4th.
prequels. Yeah, May the 4th. And we're going to be interviewing them, and already we've got a load of questions from you guys which we're going to put to them, asking about the old films and, more importantly, looking forward to the new ones, what they think's going to happen, how happy they are with, the director and the writer.
I'm looking forward to talking to Kenny Baker about that.
Yeah,
I mean, to get some nuggets from him. For
yeah,
that.
legitimate star of episode 7, and we're meeting with him this Sunday, so we can't wait. So, as we mentioned before, if you could drop any questions you'd like to ask them to @The Movie Cricket, which is our Twitter, our Movie Cricket Facebook page, or just comment on this article, that'd be great. Thanks for joining us, guys.
And we'll speak to you next week.
Cheers.